Okay, let's dive into one of history's most fascinating and, frankly, frustrating puzzles. We're going to talk about a book that's 600 years old, and that no one alive can read.
I mean, just think about that for a second. It sounds like the plot of the movie, right? But this isn't fiction. It's a real object that has stumped the smartest people for generations. It's a perfect locked box mystery, straight out of the medieval world.
And this is it. It's called the Voynich Manuscript. For more than 100 years, the best minds on the planet, from World War II cryptographers to today's most advanced AI, have thrown everything they have at this book. And every single one of them has walked away completely stumped.
So what in the world is this thing that defies every attempt to understand it? Let's take a look at what we actually know for sure.
Okay, so the basics. The manuscript is a 240-page book made of vellum, which is prepared animal skin. Thanks to carbon dating, we know with pretty high certainty that it was made sometime in the early 1400s, and it is filled, from cover to cover, with writing in a script that has never been seen anywhere else in human history.
Now, what's really crucial here is that this is the real deal. It's a genuine medieval artifact, not some modern fake. Today, it sits in Yale University's rare book library. It gets its modern name, the Voynich Manuscript, from the book dealer who found it back in 1912. But before it popped up in the 1600s, its history is a complete and total blank. And get this, analysis of the handwriting shows it wasn't just one person's project. At least 4 different people, 4 distinct scribes, worked on writing this thing.
Since we can't read the words, the only clues we have are the pictures. And let me tell you, the pictures are, well, they're pretty strange.
The book seems to be organized into different sections based on the illustrations. You've got a whole part that looks like a botany manual, filled with drawings of plants, except they don't match any known species on Earth. Then there's an astronomical section with these really elaborate star charts and zodiacs. And then there's the section that scholars call balneological, which is just a fancy way of saying it's about bathing. It's filled with these weird drawings of little naked figures swimming in pools of strange green liquid, all connected by these intricate tube-like structures.
And on every single one of these pages, surrounding every illustration, is this beautiful, flowing script. It looks so organized, it looks intentional, but it is completely, utterly unreadable. This elegant text is really the heart of the whole mystery.
Now look, the most obvious explanation is that it's all just nonsense, right? Maybe some medieval prankster just sat down and scribbled 240 pages of beautifully crafted gibberish. It's simple theory, but it has one huge problem.
The text isn't random. When you actually run statistical analysis on it, it behaves just like a real, structured human language.
Okay, so let's break this down because this is wild. The text follows a statistical rule called Zipf's law. Basically, in any real language, the most common word appears about twice as often as the second most common, 3 times as often as the third, and so on. The Voynich script follows this pattern perfectly. To fake that, to create random nonsense that just happens to follow this complex mathematical rule, especially in the 1400s, would have been almost impossible. This is our biggest clue that there's a real system at work here.
So, this brings us to the 3 big theories that everyone has been arguing about for a century. Is it a code, a lost language, or a hoax so brilliant it somehow managed to fool statistics itself?
All right, let's look at this like a case file. First up, the theory that it's a complex cipher. The deep statistical structure definitely supports this idea. The problem? The very people who broke the Nazi Enigma code couldn't crack it. Theory 2. It's a lost language. The structure fits perfectly with a natural language. But if it was a real language, where are all the other examples of it? Why does it only exist in this one book? And finally, the elaborate hoax. The weird plants could just be fantasy, designed to trick a rich buyer. But, again, creating that level of linguistic complexity back then would have been an absolutely monumental task. See the problem? No single theory really fits all the evidence.
So let's focus on that last point for a second, because it's a big one. The main argument against the hoax theory has always been the sheer difficulty of it. I mean, could someone in the 15th century really create something this complex just to fool people? You might think no, but it turns out there's a modern example that proves it's totally possible.
Check this out. This is the Codex Seraphinianus, and it was made in 1981. It's a modern art book filled with these incredibly surreal illustrations and a completely invented, unreadable script. The author himself, Luigi Serafini, says flat out that the text is meaningless.
And yet, it's over 300 pages long and looks for all the world like a real encyclopedia from another planet. What this proves is that yes, a dedicated person can create a massive, structured, beautiful text that means absolutely nothing. This makes the hoax theory for the Voynich manuscript seem a whole lot more plausible.
But even with that possibility on the table, we're no closer to a real solution. The manuscript's true purpose, its true nature, remains just as elusive as it was 100 years ago. I mean, the history of this manuscript is basically just a timeline of brilliant people failing. In the 1600s, a Holy Roman emperor couldn't figure it out. In the 1940s, the American code breakers who helped win World War II were completely stumped by it. And today, even with our most powerful artificial intelligence, all we can do is get a computer to replicate its style. We still can't pull a single word of meaning out of it. It's a perfect intellectual puzzle.
So, where does all this leave us? We're at a stalemate, a genuine dead end. Every theory we have runs smack into a contradiction. Every piece of evidence that seems to support one idea can be turned around and used against it. After centuries of intense study, the Voynich manuscript is still guarding its secrets just as tightly as it did the day it was written.
And this leaves us with a really fascinating and maybe a little unsettling final thought. This manuscript isn't just some dusty old puzzle. It's a physical reminder that entire systems of communication, entire worlds of knowledge can exist and then just vanish, leaving behind nothing but a beautiful, unreadable ghost. It forces you to ask, what other histories, what other ways of seeing the world have been completely lost to time?